Hurricane Otis barreled into Acapulco, Mexico as a Category 5 storm early on Wednesday. The Mexican beach resort was pummeled with torrential rain and fierce winds, reaching 165 miles per hour, battering hotels, and sending tourists running for cover. Otis is one of the strongest hurricanes to ever hit the region. After reaching the shore as a Category 5, it quickly weakened to a Category 4 storm. Its power slackened further as it moved inland, reducing to a tropical storm.
No sabemos.
President Andres Manuel López Obrador said there were no immediate reports of fatalities from the storm, but he cautioned that authorities were struggling to obtain updates and said there were landslides and damage on the roads. Power outages have been reported throughout the region, affecting hundreds of thousands.
Otis, has strengthened at really an unprecedented rate. And seeing how quickly it strengthened, it's, something that we expect in a warmer climate. But I think sometimes expecting that is different than actually seeing it happen. However, that said, it does line up really well with some of the findings from my recent research that actually was just published last week, showing that we expect hurricanes to go from relatively weak storms to really strong storms more quickly than they used to. Those warm ocean waters really serve as an important source of fuel for hurricanes. They allow the hurricanes to become more energized and to strengthen really quickly. It's a key component. So having seen, that over recent decades, about 90% of the warming that's been caused by human-caused climate change has gone into our oceans. We've seen those ocean surface temperatures getting warmer. Certainly that was the case for Otis. We are very much already seeing the impacts of a warmer climate in how destructive these storms are, how quickly they become that destructive. And I think that tells us a couple of things. One, that we need to be working to think about how we can make our coastal communities more resilient, because we're clearly already seeing the impacts of climate change playing out today. I think the other thing that we need to be thinking about is how do we limit additional warming to make sure that this isn't a trend that continues to get worse.
So the water temperature in the Pacific Ocean off the west coast of Mexico right now is much higher than usual for the time of year. And this provided a lot of extra potential intensity to this storm, which is part of what allowed it to intensify so rapidly. And those temperatures right now in the ocean are warmer than usual due to essentially two major factors. El Nino, which is a temporary warming of the eastern Pacific Ocean, and climate change, which of course is the long-term warming of the overall Earth's climate system, and which also results in warmer ocean temperatures. We do actually expect to see increases in the rapid intensification of the sudden intensification of storms like this over short 12 to 24-hour periods in a warming climate. There's been less research on this in the Eastern Pacific, but we know this is already occurring in parts of the Atlantic Ocean and the Northwest Pacific, and it is expected that this is likely to emerge too in the Eastern Pacific. But this is by far the strongest hurricane ever to have occurred on this section of the Mexican coast. And so there just isn't really historical context for this. And that's challenging because that's different than other places, even on the east coast of Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, anywhere in the Gulf of Mexico, the United States, Florida, Texas, Louisiana. These are all places very accustomed to powerful hurricanes coming on shore. But so the challenge is even greater here, that there just isn't much of a historical precedent for it. There's not as much local knowledge of this because it's not something anyone's really had to deal with this magnitude. So I think in terms of preparedness, typically we do have pretty good forecasts for hurricanes. That usually there is much better advance warning than we saw in this case, but clearly that didn't happen this time.